and Henk, and welcome to another edition of the Skull Sessions. And today, my guest is Rob Tsunami. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. All right, man. So let's talk about what you got going on.
Oh, well, I produced a graphic novel, a horror graphic novel that I've been trying to share with the masses.
Yeah, I just got it last night. It arrived in my mail, but last night.
Mhm.
So, it was like 10:30 at night. So I was like, yeah, I can't read it tonight. But cool, man. So what's the story about? What's the inspiration? Tell me a little more about it.
It's a retelling of the origin of the Grim Reaper. Um, it's it's not for the faint of heart. It's very like on the extreme end, more like the way the Walking Dead books are, like
Yeah, I flew
those
through a little
comics.
bit, and I saw there was like some like graphic sex and whatever. So I guess I mean comics aren't really rated anymore. They were at one point they tried to rate them, but they never had like the TV or movie rating system. But I guess if it was a movie, it'd be like X.
Yeah, yeah, like the NC-17 kind of. It
Yeah.
more it's a very like Lovecraftian kind of version of the Grim Reaper, where
Okay.
it's based in I'm from Rhode Island, so it's based kind of like on where I am. I put a lot of like personal stories into it. It was a passion project that I had going on for years. I had done different versions of it and put it down, and after the COVID thing, because everybody was pretty much laid off for a couple months. I picked it up again and like put it out there. So for the past year, I've been trying to promote it, talking to guys such as yourself.
Do you ever go to the Necronomicon?
Yeah, yeah. Like in high school, I had the book. So the Lovecraft book of short stories. That's right.
Well,
From
I
where I
mean,
live.
there's the Necronomicon, which is a book, and then there's a convention, which is like every year called the Necronomicon.
Oh, the com. Yeah, I've been to the com. It's in Providence. It's
Yeah,
actually not too far from where I live in Pawtucket. So actually have a store down there where they base the con out of.
yeah, I do that. It's like 1 year is like movies and video, and one
Mhm.
year is like author stuff, and like so I always do the author one, and I they have a lot of cool. Like I'm a big Lovecraft fan, and like a lot of his creatures like nobody makes. So you go there and people make like like the starfish and that
Yeah,
cucumber
yeah.
creature from the Mountains of Madness and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So you said that your graphic novel is a bit Lovecraftian. Like, was that a big inspiration? Was it like his mythos or his writing style, or what was it?
Definitely like the writing style, and there is a like a god character that bestows the power upon someone who ends up becoming the fourth horseman of the apocalypse. So that character is kind of based on the Cthulhu, kind of like a cosmic entity. It's like
Yeah, I think
the
Azazgoth is like the overall like giant entity of that
yeah,
universe.
yeah. So just and then the a lot of like the tentacle kind of as far as visually, like a lot of the like the octopus kind of tentacles and stuff. So I kind of use the my interpretation of the visuals and kind of put it in there. It's not really overpowering. It's just like hints of it here and there. We're like, oh, all right.
Okay, yeah, it's weird because like it almost seems like tentacles would be perfect for horror, but it's not used that often, and when it is, people are like, "Oh, Lovecraft." Like, I mean, obviously, Lovecraft didn't invent the octopus. I don't know,
Yeah,
maybe he
yeah,
did. You could probably get down a conspiracy rabbit hole there. But
yeah,
I'm just saying, it's funny that you're like, oh, cosmic horror, octopus tentacles, Lovecraft.
yeah.
I just
It's
think it's like a weird connection that people make.
probably more from the like the Dagon kind of story because of the fish people and shit.
Yeah, yeah. The what is it? It's like a cult of people, and they're all like slowly evolving into fish people.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
Shadow over in his mouth is the name of the story.
yeah,
But have you seen the movie Dion?
yeah, yeah. Actually, I rewatched it not too long ago. I think it holds up. Maybe some of the CG towards the end of the movie a little hokey, but I kind of like that.
I thought they kind of like because it's Stuart Gordon, and
Mhm.
he did From Beyond, he did The Reanimator, which are
Cat Castle
you
Freak. You also do
yeah,
Castle
yeah.
Freak.
But
Or was that
those the
based
reason I
on the?
mentioned those two is they're kind of like based off Lovecraft stories,
Yeah,
and so is
loosely.
Dagon, but it's
Yeah,
like very loosely based.
yeah,
But apparently he got a bigger budget for Reanimator and From Beyond than did for Dagon. And it took him forever to put it out. Which
yeah.
is, I mean, you can see that on the screen. Like you
Mm,
can see there's a bigger budget on like From Beyond and the
yeah.
Reanimator.
Even Castle Freak's like one of my favorite movies, and that's the one of the more lesser known of the of his Lovecraft movies, and that had a really good budget. But that movie was really like more hardcore.
Okay.
Yeah,
See,
it was.
I've always heard to watch that movie, and for some reason, I just never have.
Yeah, it's really it's all Barbara uh shit, I forgot her name, but everybody uh from the other movies are in that one also. The um Jeffrey Combs is in it.
Right. I
So
mean, you can't have a Stuart Gordon movie without
yeah,
Jeffrey Combs.
yeah.
It's like
But
the Bruce Campbell to Sam Raimi.
that one's less um fantasy. It's more just like straight like horror.
Kind of gothic horror, I'd
Yeah, it's
imagine.
more gothic
Yeah.
because it has the Italian villa and stuff. They
Right.
made a remake of it, but I tried to stay away from that because remakes are usually
Well,
awful.
most remakes suck. But
Yeah,
when
yeah.
they do, they're good, but they're kind of pointless. Like the remake
Mm,
of Dawn of the Dead. Like the
yeah,
original Dawn of the Dead is amazing. The
yeah.
remake is a good
I
story. Why didn't they just rename it?
yeah, I didn't really care for the remake, which is another like
Why is
loose.
it because they had fast zombies in it? I remember
I
everybody was
just
wearing shirts for a while that said "Fast Zombies Suck."
yeah, it was too goofy.
Well, I like. I mean, Bing Rames and stuff. I heard the same crew remade Day of the Dead. I heard that's horrible. I haven't watched that.
I was also yeah, I stayed away from it just from the trailer. I was like, yeah, I'm out because I love those three original Romero movies. I
Oh
didn't
yeah, they're
really
the classic. Yeah.
yeah. I didn't really care for the remake of Dawn of the Dead. Like the beginning is awesome, but again, it should have been like named something
Something
else.
else. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. The beginning was much stronger than the rest of the movie. Like when they're like, "Well, we have to go to a mall." Okay, you ruined
It's
it.
like
When
it's
when
like
they had
thank
like
you.
the little girl, and like they're like, "Honey, you heard that she's a zombie." It's
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
thought that was awesome.
Yeah. The beginning of the movie is amazing, but then it kind of gets a little like, I don't know. The way it ended, it went a little action movie kind of because of that's Zack Snyder's
Yeah,
style is
that's the
the
style.
action.
I don't think his stuff is horrible, but it's like I do think he's overrated.
Yeah,
But
well,
that's neither here nor there.
yeah, he's living off his reputation from 300, which is a great movie, and then
Mhm.
his other movies, I guess the
Although
Watchmen.
here's the problem with 300. So I got the book because I'm a big
Yeah,
Frank
yeah,
Miller fan.
yeah.
So I got the book and good book, and then I watched the making of 300 the day before I saw it. So it's all green screened.
Hmm.
It's like them, they don't even have like waving weeks or anything. It's just them acting in front of a green screen. So seeing all that, then seeing the movie and knowing that all that stuff is fake ruined the movie for me. So
Yeah,
I've
it
had to go
takes you out of
back
it a
and
little
see it
bit.
after the fact. I'm like, it's actually better than I thought.
Yeah, yeah. I heard they're doing like supposedly in talks about doing a prequel series
Yeah. I
for
wonder
it,
if that'd
but I
be
don't
any
know.
good. I don't know. They fuck everything up. Like
Yeah,
even when they do it, it's kind of like because I think they get scared of original ideas. So when
mm,
they redid the thing, and
Yeah,
they tried to do a prequel to the thing. And originally it was going to be all about the Norwegian team that finds the flying saucer and all
yeah,
that
which it
stuff,
should have been, but they
which would have been
literally,
awesome.
yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
then they were scared it wasn't going to make money. So they're like, why don't we basically make like a remake of the thing with a little bit of the prequel in it? And that ruined it.
yeah, yeah. And another thing about that is they actually did a lot of practical effects for that, but they ended up taking them out and throwing in all the cheesy.
It was CGI.
Yeah, yeah, it made no sense, and that was another really like bad thing about that.
Well,
Terrible
the
choices.
John Carpenter thing is like, in my opinion, is his best movie.
Hmm.
But it's an absolute classic. Like
Yeah, yeah,
most people agree that if you like horror movies, that's one of your top 10.
yeah, yeah. That and like The Exorcist, that
Yeah.
usually in
See,
there.
The Exorcist never grabbed me as much because
Hmm.
I'm very atheist and my parents are very religious. And when I first saw it, I was like super punk rock and super like, fuck all religions. And then I saw him and just like, this is all bullshit. This would never happen. So it
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
that sucked it out for me.
Hmm. I saw it when I was like 11, and it kind of fucked me up because I was like, whoa. So I was used to the Universal and like the Hammer films, and
But
I saw that, and it blew. But I don't really the religious end, which I'm pretty much I don't believe in any of that, anyways. So that it has its agenda towards the end, but I don't know. Visually and the dialogue, that movie really got me. But it's a very different
but
kind of movie compared to The
no,
Thing.
it's like I don't mind it if you have
Mm.
whatever religion. It's just like if you try and push it on people,
Yeah,
or if
yeah.
the whole thing is structured around you believing in that religion. And
Mm,
that was the problem there. I was like, this is all made up. Like, the stuff that seems like I'm still the Descent.
mm. Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you watch the Descent, I mean, obviously it's a fantasy story, but well, horror story, but
Mm.
fantastical story, but it's made up. But it could really happen. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah. People could evolve into bat humans
yeah.
fucking
So
trapped in a cave.
whereas when I watch something that centers around like a morality play or whatever, I'm like,
Mm.
that that doesn't happen. That doesn't work. I don't know. Maybe I'm like nitpicking it too much.
No, no, no. I enjoyed the Descent. I thought it was done well.
Yeah, I like I think they're like spurts of great movies that will come out, and then you won't see anything. It'll be like a barren desert for like 5 years or 8 years or whatever. Did you see the revolution of like French films coming out like Martyrs and Inside and Frontiers?
I haven't. Yeah, haven't heard any of those or seen them yet. No, I'll have to check those out.
Well, I highly recommend that you watch Inside and Martyrs. I think Frontiers is kind of like
Oh,
the first.
Martyrs. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I've seen Martyrs is awesome.
yeah, yeah.
Another. They made a shitty remake to that also.
But
Mar-
I heard they did. I didn't watch it,
Yeah, I don't
but
want.
the
I
original is amazing.
yeah. The other two that you mentioned I haven't seen, but definitely Martyrs. Martyrs was a great great movie.
Watch Inside. Like Frontiers
Inside.
is
Yeah.
like the Texas version. I mean, the French version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So I'm like,
Mhm.
I've already seen this movie. It just happens in France. Like, it's not a
Yeah.
bad movie, but it's not like groundbreaking. But Inside is
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah.
But
All
let's
right.
get back to your project because we shouldn't talk like movies all day. So did you write it and draw it?
Yes. So in let's see. I'm 48 right now. So back in 96, I had an injury happen to my right hand. I almost uh bled to death. So
Oh,
after
what
like
happened?
I was actually doing dishes and a broken plate went uh through my wrist and cut the artery and a bunch of tendons and
Oh
stuff.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, it's real bad. So after about 5 or 6 months, I had to learn how to like uh write again, and because it was my right hand, my primary, you know. So I started basically writing this story, which was more of a like a revenge kind of story. There wasn't really a fantasy element to it. So over the years, I had like three different drafts. I put it down for a couple of years because it didn't hit. And then in 2020, I think I was laid off for work for like 2 or 3 months. So I picked the story back up. I was like, you know what? I got the time to just really focus on it, just get it done. And I put out basically two prequel issues, which were the first five chapters, issue one and two, just as like feelers to see, what people thought of it.
Were
And
they like
then
free downloads, or was like were you doing a
no, actually,
Kickstarter and it was trying to lure people in?
it's all self like financed and stuff. So I'm going from like zero to whatever right now. I put out uh I put out two digital. It was both digital on Amazon, and I made like a limited amount of physical copies.
Okay.
And then last year I made the actual full 136 like page graphic novel, which is those five chapters and then the rest of the story.
Okay.
And yeah, so I have that on Amazon and digital, and then I got if you want physical copies, you get them directly from me because they take too much. They take like 80% of the profit off Amazon,
Oh, I
and
know.
yeah, it's terrible. It's
I have books for sale on
yeah.
Amazon, you know. But
Same thing with music with Spotify because I also do
oh yeah,
music too.
people say they basically go broke. It's like pennies for a song. It's
Yeah,
like they make their money on tour.
I was watching a video a few days ago with Snoop Dogg, and I guess he said that he had gotten a notification that he had gotten 1 billion downloads, and he only got 30 $36,000 for 1 billion
Yeah,
downloads.
I'm not
So he's not
surprised.
even making $1, and he's one of the biggest artists in the world.
I mean, it's fortunate that he made his money with like. Have you seen his like Animal Planet stuff where he talks about animals? It's
Yeah, yeah,
fucking hilarious.
yeah, yeah.
But like, fortunately, he made a chunk of money before all this digital
Mm,
age, hit. But yeah, it's probably really hard. It's probably really hard for artists and writers and musicians because
yeah,
people just grab your shit. And they
yeah.
feel entitled to just take it.
They're phasing out physical media as a whole, which is unfortunate because that's where guys like us would make, you'd make the brunt of your money.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
pretty bad.
I go to conventions and I've noticed like the conventions have gone down over time. Like, I don't
Well, they're
know, just
charging a lot more to get in. They charge the vendors, and so you got to hope you make whatever money off the spot initially.
and you got to pay for the hotel and you got to pay to travel there. And
Yeah.
yeah, but all right. So getting back to your comment of just being a trail of misery. So with your drawing style, like what is it? What inspired it? What do you try to accomplish?
So I'm self-taught. I did graduate from a vocational school, so but I do have that graphic arts kind of background, but I don't have any like formal like training. So it was all mostly comic books originally. I grew up with the stuff from the 70s and early 80s and then into the 90s stuff. So a lot of the like the Werewolf by Night, Mike Plug or Plug, I think his name was Tomb of Dracula, Swamp Thing, like those kind
Yeah,
of
no,
books.
I remember stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
Mike
yeah,
Plug, I think. Yeah,
yep, yep. And a lot of uh the horror movies from that era. So I'm kind of just like a mishmash of styles. I really like the Frank Miller style with the heavy black.
right.
So that I guess that would be like the closest comparison.
Were you inspired, even though it might not be your style? Were you inspired by like Bernie Wrestling?
Not so. I mean, I appreciated this stuff, but not so much for I guess as a direct style to what I'm doing. Probably not so much, but I like all anybody who has like a original like style that you can just look at it and be like that's this guy, whether it's technically amazing or just something really unique. Like when Todd McFarlane came into the industry, just the way that he drew, it wasn't technically like the way we're supposed to draw a figure because he'd bend him in all these like weird positions and stuff.
Yeah, like very big. I remember when his stuff first came out. Like I
Mhm.
first saw it on the Hulk before he even did Spider-Man. I was like, I remember he was evolving his style.
Mhm.
So I liked his Hulks he did. I liked the early Spider-Man he did, but then it just felt like he just kept repeating himself over and over.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
But
then
one guy who probably that you might like that like I'm a big Frank Miller fan too, but one guy whose art style I really like and I think he's really talented is Mike Mignola who did
yeah,
Hellboy.
yeah. Hellboy. I like this stuff with Batman. His Gotham by Gaslight is one of my favorite books, and he drew that. I like his style a lot. That my stuff's also been kind of compared to his also. So it I guess it would be like a mishmash of Miller and and Magnolia.
Mignola, yeah.
Yeah,
You know that like I think they did the right thing by Mignola when they did the Hellboy movie because Del Toro is a big fan and he came
yeah.
to him and he like directly collaborated with him to make the movies. I
Mhm.
know that Frank Miller broke out big with The Dark Knight Rises, so Hollywood came calling and they had him write RoboCop 2. And that's like if you read there's a big history about how they fucked that up and
Yeah.
basically they got the script and they said, well, this is what Hollywood always does. Like, well, you might be a good writer, but you don't know film. And then they
Yeah,
fuck it
but
up.
when the
So
producers
they fucked it up and then they asked him to come back and rewrite the rewritten thing. And he's like, fuck you. So
yeah,
then they got a third writer. So if you look on the movie, it has all three writers credited.
yeah, that's a mess. That's when producers are getting involved and people who have no like artistic ability just like throwing in their 2 cents, and that's how a
Right.
lot of movies get messed up. Well, Sin City was a good example of the
They pulled it off. Yeah.
yeah, because
Well, Rodriguez was a big fan and he
yeah.
wanted Frank Miller to do it. He's like, but I'll make you a deal. Like, his Frank Miller's like, fuck Hollywood. I'm never doing anything again with Hollywood.
Mm,
And Rodriguez is like, how about you direct it with me?
yeah, the Exorcist is a similar, like he had the direct like dialogue with the writer of the book, and I think those films come out the best because that's as close as you're gonna get, like Clive Barker with Hellraiser
Oh, that was, I
thing.
think he directed the first one too.
Yeah,
It was
yeah. He
awesome. Yeah.
so that's like as close
And
to
that
the
is a classic. I
yeah, yeah.
think
That's
that's one of those top tens.
mhm. Even the second one I like for the most part because it kind of goes in. It's like Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, and so you could like watch one and two as almost like one movie because it really just goes right into it. But then
Mhm.
it gets kind of hokey.
When
Yeah,
they go to space, that's when
yeah.
you know it's over.
You're like, oh,
Whenever a series goes to space, did you see Jason in Space?
yeah, yeah. It's not.
I watched it just for how bad it is, but
Yeah, yeah.
and
It's
actually
definitely
the beginning where like they trap him and shoot him, that's
again.
cool. But
Yeah,
then when they do like the really bad cyborg effects and all that sort of stuff, I'm like, all right.
same thing with the Hellraiser. He goes to space. The beginning of that movie, like the origin story where they're in France and talking about the how the box was made. That could have been its own
Oh, I thought
thing,
that was great. I love that part. I was
but
like, oh, they
somebody,
kind of explained some of the
eh,
origin, yeah.
some producer was like, you know what, space, throw that in there.
Well, that's the problem. Like Hollywood is so scared to take a chance on anything.
Mm,
They think it's going to be garbage, but they'll say, "Hey, this made money, so we'll just make an inferior, cheaper version and make money off of it," which is why you end up with like 10 Friday the 13th movies. Actually, I think it's 11 now because they remade it, and I heard the remake is horrible, so I didn't even watch it.
Uh, that one's actually better than a lot of them.
Oh
The
yeah,
space is better than the space one. The space one's like the bottom tier of, I
worse than
guess.
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, that one wasn't that great either. The ending kind of like ruins it. He turns into like a melted like toxic baby in the sewer at the end. It's really weird. Yeah,
Well, I've actually never seen that one. I've just always heard how horrible it is. And when people
yeah,
like rate the Jason movies, you say that's worse.
yeah. It's
But
still above X. Yeah.
well, I saw three, four, five, and six in the theaters. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm old, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I go see him as a kid, and I remember I went to go see seven, and I was like, I don't know, like 12 or whatever. And like, my mom had to buy tickets because it's an R-rated movie, you know,
Mm.
and I remember the theater, whatever you call it, the one who sells the tickets is like, yeah, you have to watch the movie with him, or else I'm not selling the tickets. And of course, you wouldn't watch it, so I never saw another one in the theaters after that.
Ah, that was the one with the girl with
The
the
Psychic Girl,
super
yeah.
the
To
psychic
this
girl.
day,
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
yeah. That's a good one. I kept all my DVDs that I bought, so I still have like stacks of them everywhere. I have all those. Even
Oh, I
X,
have
unfortunately.
DVDs. I have tons of
Yeah,
DVDs. I used to have tons of cassettes.
yeah,
Remember cassettes?
yeah. They're actually coming back into fashion for some reason.
What cassettes are?
Yeah, yeah. On the like the underground level, I like do like I know people in like grindcore bands and like black metal bands that produce like they're putting them out
Oh
cassettes.
yeah, kind
I
of
don't
like
know
a
what the
retro. Well, as
yeah,
long
I
as
don't know
they're
what the
not
fuck they're
doing eight
playing them
tracks.
on.
If you do eight
Yeah,
tracks, then
yeah.
you're done.
Eight
I
track.
don't know if anybody has an eight-track player. Like I remember, like I'd be like when I was a little kid getting rides in people's cars, and they'd have like
Mhm.
an installed eight-track player. But
One of my
I've never seen one.
uh some of my earliest memories of music was my parents had one and still at probably 80. I don't know. I probably like five or six, and I remember putting in like Kiss Double Platinum, like in the
Oh,
thing, and it had the big buttons you clicked on for the tracks.
well,
Uh,
my parents listened to horrible music, so
yeah.
yeah. But at the
But
time I got into music, it was all cassettes. Like
mm,
I had the Walkman that carried around with
yeah,
me. Like me and my friends would trade like mixtapes, cassette mixtapes. But it was all cassettes.
mm,
My
yeah.
parents all listened to like first country, and
So
then they switched from country to just gospel music. I was like, yeah.
yeah, it's there's no saving that. Yeah, my mom was into like the 70s stuff like Alice Cooper and Edgar Winter Group and Zeppelin. And then my dad
That's
was,
way cooler. Yeah.
yeah, my dad was more like Motown kind of like James Brown and like
Yeah, but either
that
are
kind of
way cooler than gospel
yeah, yeah.
music.
So I couldn't have done like the gospel of the country. That would have been
So
the
let's get
rap.
back to your graphic novel for a minute. So did you drew did you pencil it in like traditional pencil and then ink it? Like what how did you go about it?
So it is super chaotic. I pretty much write out the story, and then I don't really draw them like comic panels. I draw them like I'm drawing just like one picture, and then I basically put it together like that. And I'm just using pen and pencil pretty much. And
Okay.
then I put it in Photoshop and put I'll put the words in the word bubbles because my handwriting's fucking awful.
Yeah, no,
So
I remember when I went actually I had almost a similar path to you in that, I had like originally what I wanted to do was a graphic novel. Like I read
mhm.
Watchmen, and
Yeah.
like until I read Watchmen, I was like, I don't know if I want to be an artist or a writer. And then I read Watchmen, I'm like, I can do both. This is great. I'll do a graphic novel. So
Mhm.
then starting at like the age of like 15, all the way up until I interviewed with DC Comics when I was like in my 20s, like, I was working on a graphic novel. And I mean that was pretty depressing. So now I do illustrated books
Mhm.
but I have like all these like early itinerations, like 4 pages or 5 pages of that graphic novel story. And I remember when you went to letter stuff, like I didn't have a computer. So, have you ever seen the old lettering guide and you like you track it across
Oh yeah,
lines?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I used to do that and I'm a horrible letter. All props to those people who do that,
Yeah.
who did that old school back in the day. without computers, because like I
Mm,
can't do that. Like I would letter everything, but it doesn't look nearly as good as somebody's a professional.
yeah. Now you could just hit the Comic Sans font and you get that
Exactly.
comic
Yeah.
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comic Sans Serif or Sans Serif font, whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Did you color it? Like I know that it's not fully colored, but there are some colors in it.
So uh there's a couple subtle themes in it. It basically does like a Wizard of Oz thing where it goes from black and white slowly to color, like full color at the end, like the last page is full color. I also do like a cold to hot thing, if you notice.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Okay.
like snowing, and then towards the end it's fire
Like I said, the
brimstone.
graphic novel arrived here in my mailbox last
Mhm.
night. So,
Yeah.
I didn't really get a chance to, like, I flipped through it. That was it.
Mhm. Yeah, I sent it a week ago, and you're in New York. We're on the same coast. I figured it would have got there a lot earlier, but
Who knows? These
yeah,
days, who knows?
yeah. Especially going through the regular mail.
Yeah. Maybe the post like I've also had stuff delivered. I'm also in an apartment complex, so
Oh,
I have stuff they'll announce delivered. And I'm like, it's not there, and I'll like contact the people I bought it from, and they'll wait like 2 days, and I'm like, oh, it arrived.
mm,
So like apparently like the mailman will like write down they dropped it off when they didn't. So like you check the tracking, it says delivered. It's like, but it's not here. But
yeah. Yeah. It's like waiting it for any Amazon packages or whatever.
no.
You could
Well,
be
Amazon is actually more on time. They send you pictures and everything.
Yeah, they'll get there within the 24-hour
Yeah, the
period
window.
sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you live in an unsavory neighborhood like myself, you get nervous when you're actually at your day job and something might arrive. You're like, ah,
Yeah. Yeah, I lived like one place I lived in Brooklyn. Somebody like tore open the like mounted on the wall mailbox, and then the landlord just put it back. Like no cement, no glue. So people just steal my mail all the time.
that's terrible.
But so you drew it and um you finished up the illustrations on the computer, and you did, I guess, computer coloring like on some parts, and it like
Yeah,
slowly evolves as it goes on, and you did computer lettering, so it gives it more of like a formal look.
yeah, like the I don't want the handwriting to be shitty or like off centered in the word bubble. So just typing in the stuff in Photoshop and
Yeah, well, you want people to
putting it
judge
in.
you on the content, not on the presentation.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So what are you doing to get it out there? Like is it available on anything besides Amazon? Is it like mostly brick and mortar stores have gone away? Like I remember there
Yeah,
used to be like tons of like bookstores that are gone. There
yeah.
are still a few comic shops left, but they used to sell like comics and like all sorts of bookstores. They don't really anymore.
Yeah, the book there's luckily in my area there's a couple uh comic shops, but they also have to delve into a lot of the manga shit and like collectibles too to kind of balance
Right.
balance
Like the Funko Pop and all that
yeah,
stuff.
Funko Pops like, to balance out their inventory and stuff. I've mainly just been doing stuff on to promote on some social media, the podcasts like this and doing local like horror conventions or like a local comic book shop that on free comic book day. More towards the Halloween thing because mine's horror based and it's definitely like an 18 plus book. So I've already been kicked off like two sites that I tried to put it on there. So there's no like rapey bullshit or really sexual content, but there is like nudity mixed with horror too. And then there's like some like hardcore themes in it. So I gotta kind of
No,
gauge.
I've had stuff kicked off of Amazon. Like I'll do an oil painting, and you
Mm,
see like a girl's tits, and they'll kick it off of that. I'm like,
Yeah,
dude, it's a fucking lap hitting. It's not nudity.
that happens on Deviant Art, which you wouldn't think,
Yeah, I'm on
the
there too.
name,
Yeah.
yeah, the name, and you're like, what the fuck? My shit got kicked off on here.
Yeah, but DeviantArt has some like hardcore pornography on it too.
Yeah,
So
it
I
makes
don't
no
know
sense.
where they draw the line there.
Yeah. The only place where you can actually unfiltered put your stuff on there is probably Twitter or X, whatever.
But well,
You
now
know,
that Elon Musk bought it, he's like, yeah, put it wherever you want.
yeah, do what you want, just fucking within the limits of whatever.
One
But
thing you
anything,
might want to try that I like is they have something called Art Station,
hmm
and it's like the deviant art for Europe, but it's actually way more in common use than deviant art. Like, yes, deviant art had like a spot back in the day, but I know a lot of
yeah,
people have moved on to ArtStation. So, like, I just have like a portfolio and stuff there, but I've got like I run a tattoo shop. I tattoo for a living, but I
hmm
also take on like illustration gigs. I also write all this sort of stuff, and I've had people get a hold of me for illustration gigs off of ArtStation. And like I recently I did something from it's like a Stockholm-based video game company. They're putting a video game called Dark Waters, so
oh
they
yeah,
they commissioned me. They paid me thousands of dollars to like do all these illustrations for them. Like I wasn't even sure it's for real because I'm like, I don't know. There's lots of scams out there, but no, I was like money in the bank first before I start, and they did it.
well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I haven't heard of Art Station yet.
Yeah, if you go to ArtStation, you can not only create like a page, but like if you don't have a website, they will build you a website. It's like part of their whole package thing. It's like
All
they
right.
don't even charge you. I don't make any money off this, by the way. But
Mm,
no, they don't charge you to join ArtStation. Like I don't know the whole website thing because they offered it to me, but I have my own website. So I was like, I don't need it, so I didn't venture into it. But I do have a portfolio up there.
that's awesome. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. But I'm not necessarily looking to do commission like work because
Right,
I
but you
don't
can
know.
get your stuff out there. Like they give you
Yeah,
like
yeah.
you can have a blog. They have a
Mm,
constant blog. They have like a journal. Like you can just like talk about what you got going on.
yeah, definitely. That's awesome because I plan on this is going to be like a series, obviously, and the first book probably I'm working on the second graphic novel right now, and after that, the first book I'm going to try to make into a script and
Okay,
try my hand at that.
piss it around. I mean, good
Yeah, yeah.
luck. I like at one point I'd not Netflix but something like Netflix
Mhm.
come calling and they were interested in one of my stories and I was like, "Whoa, I'm gonna make crazy money now!" But then they went away. I never heard anymore.
Yeah. I just want to do to try my hand at it because with the a comic book or a graphic novel, you pretty much your whole thing is already storyboarded.
But
And then you just gotta add like he walks into the room, he turns to the right, like all the expedition kind of bullshit. So
well, they're actually adapting. Like, is it like a popular trend now? They're adapting comic book stuff, to
mm,
TV. Like Sweet Tooth,
yeah.
which is awesome. Umbrella Academy.
I
Um,
just watched Dampier, which was based on an Italian graphic novel or something, like it was a
no, okay, was
vampire.
it good?
It was all right. It was very bladish. So
Well, they have a bunch like Lock and Key, which is awesome.
mhm.
You know, they let's see what I mean, so much like Walking Dead was based off a
Yeah,
comic.
yeah. I
So
remember having those, and then the AMC was like, "We're gonna do that." I'm like, "Huh, fuck, they're gonna do that?" I was like, "They've done some really horrible." I mean, granted, the series isn't exactly like the books, but they did that on purpose, so I don't know, not to ruin it for I guess, the comic fans. But there's some
yeah,
really,
although there's stuff that they couldn't get away with, like
yeah,
read
yeah,
the comics, like the
especially at the
governor
prison.
in the comics like has this
Yeah,
greasy ponytail and he
yeah,
rapes Michonne and then she castrates him.
yeah.
They don't have that.
No. a lot of the stuff that happened at the prison, which is in the comics, were
Like
fucking
Rick's
awful.
wife gets shot and the baby
Yeah,
gets shot, and you don't see that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
It would have been awesome, but and I think like people were shocked when like when Negan like he bashed the heads into
Yeah,
people.
I knew that
That's
shit
in
was.
the comic books. I
Yeah,
knew that's coming out, but it's like you didn't see how brutal the comic book was
yeah,
because they softened the edges. So when it came out, people were like, "Oh my god!"
yeah. Plus, they doubled up on it because homeboy with the mustache, he in the book he gets killed way earlier. Actually, I think he's the one that gets shot in the
Yeah,
eye with an
Abraham.
arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
No,
they actually.
in the comic, it was Glenn and I forget who else, but it's two
Mm,
people that got killed. But Abraham died a long time ago. But yeah, they
yeah, yeah,
changed everything up.
yeah, yeah. They lost a lot of their fan base on the TV once Glenn got killed. Like people were,
Oh,
I guess
I
they,
know.
yeah,
Like
they weren't
I
expecting it or
watched it
something.
past that.
Mm,
Like that wasn't like the final moment for me, but I was like, after a while, it just felt like they're just recycling, doing the same thing
yeah.
over and over again. I was like, all right, enough of
Mm.
this.
I got up to the Whisperers, and
That's
then
where I
like
got to, the Whisperers.
yeah,
Yeah.
then the
I was like,
last two seasons are really bad.
I heard that, and I also heard it got canceled because basically they're like, yeah, well, it ran out of steam. Like they're doing the same thing over and over
Yeah,
again. Okay,
yeah, but they did like 14 different offshoots
yeah.
from that, so it's just the
Which I
same
haven't
thing.
watched because it's like
Yeah.
it like after a while it's like I've had my fill of The Walking Dead,
Mm.
the universe, and that's kind of like I haven't had my fill of the George Romero universe. It's like so I think you have to beat a dead horse too much for you to go. I have my
Exactly.
fill.
Yeah.
But all right, man. So let's wrap this up. How can people get a hold of you? How can they give you money? You have a
Um,
website,
basically
Amazon
just
authors
go to
page.
basically just go to my Instagram and then you get to all my other stuff. It's Savage75 underscore. And then you can get to, that's a direct line to me. And then all my other links to my socials are basically on there.
Okay. What else do you have? Like, I know you have Facebook because we got a hold of each other on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. I got my personal page and the same thing, Savage75 on Facebook also. Those are probably the two I'm on the most. Although I get a you get a decent amount of traction on TikTok if yeah, I mean, you gotta you can't depend on people in their 30s and 40s to read your shit. You gotta try to appeal. I'm not doing TikTok dances or none of that
I was gonna
type of
ask. Yeah,
bullshit.
no, I'm
Yeah.
on TikTok. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have the pink tutu and I don't do
Yeah.
dances,
But
but I am on there. Yeah,
you get a lot of eyes on it. Even if they don't like your stuff, you see the numbers of like how many people have actually seen your stuff. So
yeah. No, I
it's
like
it
that.
it gets into the algorithm a little more than like a Facebook or Instagram, which is a little harder to build an audience on. But
I
uh
know that like a bunch of people are like politicians and stuff are complaining about TikTok because they're like, oh, is the Japanese or the Chinese government spying on you? I'm like, you don't think the government spies on you with Instagram or Facebook?
if I just mention something in the comfort of my own home, I'll get ads on like all forms of social media for that thing.
Yeah, yeah, same here.
So they're definitely they're doing the same thing. They just want their piece.
Yeah, I think they're just mad because they don't control it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and that's what it's all about. It's not about your good. It's about control.
yeah. From what I understand, the Shark Tank guy, the bald guy, I forget his name, but I think he's looking to try to like buy it or muscle in
Yeah, I
on
think
it.
he's looking to buy it or buy into it or buy
Yeah.
like a majority stake in it. But I
See,
don't know.
yeah, that's beyond my pay grade.
All right, man. So well, thank you for being on here. Thank you for doing this. Do you have anything else you want to point out or tell people they should check out?
Just go to my Instagram. I'm also in a band, so you can get there through there. It's called Ambergris, kind of like a doomy kind of thing. But I just want to thank you.
I know people hate to do this, but if you had to compare it to something, like if you like this, you would like me. What would it be?
Uh, kind of like Russian circles.
Okay.
kind of in that thing, or like a Gorgira,
Oh yeah.
but that more with the Sabbath, Black Sabbath kind of like,
Kind of vibe to it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Awesome, man. Yeah. Like I said, thanks for being on here.